Okay, today let's talk about switchboards and distribution panels. Okay, the safety hazards today are the ones that we can handle with our PPE and watching out for any standing water. Okay, let's talk about the meters and the controls that you'll find on a switchboard. As you can see, we have a switchboard that has number 1 and number 2 generators feeding into it. We'll have all of the meters and controls for number 1 generator and the meters and controls for number 2 generator. The standard meters are an amp meter, a watt meter or a power meter, the frequency meter, and the voltage meter. Other things of note, we'll have the voltage regulator controller right here. This digital display for here and here are going to be your governor controllers for paralleling the generators together. We have 2 types of ground detectors. We have an active ground detector and passive ground detectors. An active ground detector is termed active because it is always indicating whether a ground exists or not. I can look at this meter and it's telling me how many amps are flowing to ground currently. The passive ground detectors are the ones that require action from me before it will indicate a ground. Here's your 3 lights and the push button that most folks are used to. I push the button and see that the lights stay lit, therefore no ground is indicated. All the circuit breakers that are installed are labeled properly, and the start and stop controls for the engines themselves. Okay, the safety features of a switchboard are going to be the non-conductive handrail. In this case, it's made of wood. It could also be made of other non-conductive materials such as bakelite. The purpose of this handrail is so that when you're in seas, you have something to help steady you so you don't accidentally fall into and damage the controls. Switchboards also require electrical safety matting in front of them. Some matting you can turn up and you will see specification data verifying that it is electrical grade. Other times it may not, but you can verify if it's electrical grade matting or not. This is electrical grade matting. One of the biggest safety features of a switchboard is that they are enclosed. There's no place on here where someone could accidentally reach into it and get themselves shocked. No openings are allowed, and as you can see, there are no openings on this one. Additionally, the back of the switchboard is required to be just as safe as the front. And as you can see, the back of the switchboard is enclosed as well. There are no openings. Open back switchboards are allowed, but there are special rules. If you encounter one, then it has to be sealed off with a gate, and it must be locked and controlled by the chief engineer probably. The access is absolutely controlled to the rear of an open switchboard. As you can see, all the cable entries to the switchboard come down and go in from the back. A lot of times switchboards, the cables will come in from the bottom. The top of the switchboard is a vulnerable place, especially if you penetrate it with cables there. So the top is drip proof and intact. Let's talk about breaker and component labeling on the switchboard. As you can see, all the components we spoke of earlier are labeled properly. This is a nice new switchboard and everything is properly labeled. Additionally, all the breakers are properly labeled and the ampacity is labeled on there. We have the main generator breakers and the shore power breakers here. As you can see, they all have the warning stickers or indicators on them. And these particular breakers also have locking devices. As you can see, this metal arm here, you can undo this holdback, rotate this down, and you can put a lock on it to prevent energizing this breaker. That's a good safety feature. Okay, distribution panels. As you can see, the distribution panel has a name tag identifying it. We also see an external breaker directory posted. The handles here are also lockable. As you can see, you can lock these with a key, and most breaker panels should be lockable. Inside, again, we have the breakers labeled with what they do, another directory as well. You can see the warning labels of high voltage, and again, this enclosure is drip proof. It is certified and rated for installation in an engine room. Most distribution panels meet NEMA 250 ratings. The cables make entry on the side. That's a good set of cable entries right there. And everything is nice and squared away. I would make note that there are no electrical mats required in front of breaker distribution panels. We quite often see them in front of distribution panels, but be aware they're not required. They're only required in front of switchboards. Okay, last tips are to always look for openings in the switchboard and make sure those get closed, and verify the cleanliness of the top of the switchboard. In machinery spaces, dust and oil tend to accumulate up there, and especially if any cable penetrations go down into the top of a switchboard, you have to be up there and put eyes on it. Okay, to summarize switchboards, we've spoken of the general safety features. We covered the components and the meters that are going to be installed. We talked about the labeling of the components and the breakers. We spoke of the handrail and the non-conductive matting, the warning notices, the enclosure itself and that it's drip proof. We talked about the locking devices on these main breakers, as well as the doors of the distribution panels, and the ampacity of all the breakers. So if you have any further questions, please contact your verifying officer at your unit.